Hi, I'm Chuck,
And
welcome to Biker Life Radio. We're so truly grateful and thankful that you've joined us today. We've got a very well unprepared show lined up just for you.
Biker Life Radio is for those who ride and those who inspire to ride. We are here to reveal the truth behind the motorcycle mystique and bring real life stories of the biker lifestyle.
All right. Well, you know what? This is really going to be the Deb Show today.
Oh.
You've got everything ready and set up, Deb, to go over things.
You do that to me often, and I'm not so sure
I've asked you for
that.
days to go ahead and get things down in writing, that kind of thing.
Well, I've been trying to prepare a little bit because we've been on the road, and it's just been a lot of fun, a lot of adventure, a lot of things that we have never, I don't know if that I've ever seen before. But I think that it's important that we bring those to our audience because it's been an adventure, it's been a journey, and although we are not on our motorcycles, we have been seeing a ton of them. Would you agree?
We have seen an awful lot of motorcycles. Unfortunately, I haven't been on one of them, which has been the saddest part about this trip. As many of you may know, the whole intentions about getting this RV was to have my bike, Thumper. We were going to tow Thumper around the country. But Thumper didn't make it. Thumper is still in Memphis, Texas, in a garage, weeping, as am I.
And we're weeping.
And especially if you get a chance, we'll post some photos up on the page on the Chuck and Deb Show. We'll get some over on Biker Life Radio as well. And but the pictures, Deb, they just won't do it justice, I don't think.
No, and we had lots of conversations as we were driving through the mountain country. And although we posted some videos today, and we'll make sure that we share those on all of our pages as well. So no matter what group you're part of and or the Chuck and Deb Show, we'll make sure that we share those because, as you mentioned, the majesty of riding through the Rocky Mountains, you can't express it. Even when we took photos and videos, I think the videos came the closest. And the only reason why I would say that the videos came close is because you were crazy enough to stick your arm out of the RV as I am treacherously driving up and down those mountains with an extended camera out there to get the shots because you wanted to, as much as possible, allow our guests and viewers to see a little bit of the awesomeness. And it's not just that they're mountains, but they're just absolutely phenomenally huge.
And, I was watching a Western the other night and I was looking, I noticed the mountains in the background. And I'm like, it's just not doing it justice. And, we lived in Colorado. We actually grew up, got married in Colorado.
Uh-huh.
And we lived at the base of Pikes Peak. And Pikes Peak is a very large mountain as well.
It is, yes.
But I think we took advantage of the situation, and it is a beautiful scene to have every day, to be able to get up in the morning and look at the huge Pikes Peak.
Yes.
And the whole Front Range. It's beautiful. But as you live there, I think you sort of forget about it and maybe take advantage of it, just like we do in Florida. We go there, we have the beaches and things like that. But how often after you've been there a while do you get out to the beach? At least that's the way it's worked for us. Then again, usually we're out on the motorcycle, so we don't go to the beach as much.
Right. And, I believe some of it may have been an age thing, too, because I don't believe that when you're younger, you truly value
I bet
things the same because, I think about our children and I know although they may love the water and living close to the water, they may not necessarily value it in the same way that they will when they get older, and the fact that they can actually go and experience some of that. And it takes visitors, I think, to determine and help understand the awesomeness of that. And so the mountains were just phenomenal. And again, I've probably been through them at some point in my lifetime, but to see them the way we saw them. And the funny thing is, people have said that in an RV, you see things in a different way from a different perspective. And it is true that as you are up off the ground and really part of that, I don't know, it's interesting to experience that in a whole different way because we were up and off the ground and, I was going through those winding roads.
What does that mean? up and off the ground.
Sometimes when you're in a car, you're really feeling, and you don't realize it when you drive a car every single day. But if you have a different vehicle that takes you up and off the road, your perspective is different, and that's what I experienced by driving the RV through that treacherous mountain range.
Okay.
And I will say that I just have got to be honest with our listeners and those that are watching, is that I am extremely, extremely, extremely afraid of heights. And the only way that I think that I could probably get through the mountain range was to be in the driving seat. But there were times, there are times when and I had mentioned that to Chuck, that I had to just look at the road and look at my lane and follow between the yellow and the white line in order to not look at the down slope of the drop, or, there's no guardrails. And although we have ridden the Tail of the Dragon, we both kind of said, I think that this is completely different in many ways, and I can't wait to get back on the motorcycle and drive these the great mountains of Colorado.
Yeah, no doubt. And that was the sad part about it all, was that we just didn't have an opportunity to ride the bike, because, man, that would have been so great to be able to ride that on a bike. But at the same time I say that, I think about what we were able to experience because we didn't get to ride. You would have probably been driving, or maybe you wouldn't have let me get on the bike alone because you didn't want to be in the RV alone and take it up that pass and down the pass, by the way.
That's true.
And I did get a recording of that. We'll make sure that these get up on YouTube and all the other social media that we have, so you can see how well Deb drove. I mean, she only had a mile or two of people behind her, but that was no big deal. Oh,
goodness. That was only once, and I pulled over. But anyway.
Hey, better safe than sorry.
That's right.
I'm the one that got to look down the cliff the whole time.
Well, and I think you enjoyed it. Was the bad part of it or good part of it? But I couldn't. You said, look over here. And I'm like, I can't look over there. I had to keep an eye on the road.
There were at least one time where I sort of felt a little, ooh, because all it would take just a little, veer to the right. And I even told you, hey, is something, if a rock, because they always got falling rocks,
yes,
or if a car come over in your lane, you're going through them. All right, we're not going over the edge.
No.
Just go through whatever's in front of you. So that was our plan. That's what we talked about. Because I figured we had a better chance of staying on the road, hitting a boulder or another car, than we would have if we had to go over those cliffs up there, because they were up
steep.
There.
Yep.
I mean, we'd have rolled thousands of times.
And
no way would have made it.
I think I counted 4 or 5 mountain passes. I don't know if you counted, but I was counting, because everyone, I'm like, oh my goodness, not another one. Here we go, up the mountain and down the mountain. So I was really happy, although it was beautiful. And now that we've watched videos and looked at things, I'm grateful that we had the opportunity to do that. I was glad to get to flat ground and kind of get back to level ground a little bit.
Well, I'll tell you though, it was extraordinary. There's absolutely no doubt. And so next time you're watching a movie and you see a mountain scene in the back, just know that it's just not showing how really grand it really is. You've got to experience it. And, the Smoky Mountains, they're fantastic too. But there's something about the Rockies. There's just something about the Rockies that was a little bit different this time.
And the word, I think, Rocky Mountains is fitting, because until you're up close like that, they are truly Rocky Mountains. And each of the passes, from my perspective, seemed very, very different from one another. Some of them were very sharp peaks. Others were not as sharp. Some of them, were more grandiose in their own way, and others seemed more like a hill type. It was just interesting to see that every single pass was different. Some of it, we had major tree lines. Others, we didn't have any tree lines whatsoever. So they were all so uniquely different. And I think that was what I loved about, doing the drive and taking that trip so far.
Yeah, I wish we could do something about the mics. I apologize for the ruffling of our mics. We typically have a boom arm, which we do have with us. Deb brought just about everything that we own.
I think the studio's here.
Setup. Yeah, the whole studio's here.
Yeah.
But as you can see, we're sort of limited with space. This is actually our dining room, couch, and living room. We have a table right here, which is about, I can't tell you, it's maybe 1.5 feet, Deb. 2 foot?
Yeah, so I want to
Not quite.
welcome everyone into our home on six wheels because we are truly living the life on the road.
Don't forget, we got listeners on the podcast, so we got to be a little bit more visual about how our description is.
Sure.
But we are in a confined space. How big is this, Deb?
Our RV is 25 feet long. And I think once the slide out's out, maybe it's 12 feet wide. And we are sitting in the living room area, as Chuck had mentioned.
The slide out.
The slide out
so
area.
I expect it to fall out because I'm sitting here any moment now.
So normally it's about 8 feet wide when it's in. And so it's a pretty small traveling home. But the beauty is that we're so used to working together. It's not a big deal, and we make the most of it. So I tried to do what I could to make the most with the space. And the reason why we're not outside as we were the last time is the wind and the afternoon. First of all, let's stop and talk about where we are. So we are sitting today in Williams, Arizona, which is just a little west of the Flagstaff area. So it's at the base of the mountains. We will be bringing some great footage, I anticipate, plan on doing that from the Grand Canyon. So that's one of the major.
Route 66 right over here, the world famous Route 66 runs right through Williams here.
That's
right.
So
we'll get some footage of that hopefully, and get out there and do some things as far as that goes in Williams,
Arizona. Yep. So we wanted to bring outside to you. However, the location of where we're staying in the RV park, it was not only pretty loud from roadway noise, but it was also extremely windy out. So what they have happen here is in the afternoons, the thunderstorms roll through and/or but what happens is because it's such flat land, it typically has a lot of wind and wind gusts. And so that's what happened. We went out and we're like, there's no way in the world we can talk
and
outdoors.
It's not that flat. I was thinking that maybe it's because of the way the mountain structure is, the way the wind currents or something come through here, because as we were coming up, there was a big, huge gust of wind. And there was a lot of gust of winds, but there was this one in particular as we were coming up here to Williams,
right.
That sort of wooed us a little bit,
right.
Which was quite interesting. But yeah, there was a lot of wind as we came up, but it seemed like maybe the way the mountains are shaped, because we have mountains here. It's not totally flat.
No, it's not flat.
It's not and
there is elevation.
Desert that we went through, and there was hills there. But,
right. I think we'll get that on the way home.
What's that? The flat? There's plenty of flat coming. Don't you worry about that. You're going to wish you had that mountain pass soon. Well, you have to go through, I don't know, probably Texas again, or Oklahoma, probably.
Right. Exactly. So a little bit about our adventure. So I wanted everyone to know where we are located now and invite them into our home, because that's where we are, is our home away from home. And so we are in an RV park, but a little bit about our journey so far. We left our destination of Colorado Springs, Colorado, which is beautiful, as you mentioned, at the base of Pikes Peak. Magnificent. And I do remember quite some time ago driving into that area and just knowing the majesty and the beauty of Pikes Peak, as you had mentioned. And so, I didn't take that for granted this time. I think I looked at the mountains in a whole new way at this time in life, and it was beautiful. So we started from Colorado Springs, Colorado. Our first destination we hit was Canyon City, and we decided to stay at a really quaint, very small RV park called Mountain View RV Park in Canyon City, Colorado.
And we should start giving these stars. What is our rating system going to be? 5 or 10 stars?
Well, we got to give them gears. How about gears? Everybody else does stars. Let's give them gears. We're the first
you
gears
can do whatever you want,
off.
but online they give 5 stars, I think.
I know. I would give Mountain View RV, I probably would give them a 5-star.
I'd give them pretty close
rating,
to that. I think, they didn't have a pool.
They didn't
the Wi-Fi was really good, because that's where we shot our first
video
and podcast from. So
right.
That was real good. So kudos on the Wi-Fi. It was very clean, very clean.
Very, very clean.
The people were friendly. It was okay. We haven't seen enough to really say, so I would put it up there at a 4.5, leaving room for a 5.
All right, I'm with you too. Okay. Things that made it clean. Let's just kind of go through that, because as someone that's beginning to travel, I didn't know what to look for. We didn't know what to look for. It was rocks in most of their sites, but they do a great job of keeping them level. And they have these pretty handy dandy tools on the end of their golf carts that help rake every site. It was pretty cool to see that. And then they had concrete pads with picnic tables. And of course, they were full hookup sites, so that made a significant difference. You have your water, your electric, and your sewer. So no questions
whatsoever. We didn't
whatsoever.
have any cable there.
No cable. So that, you're right. Now that you're talking about it, that may be a 4.5. They did not have a swimming pool for any of those extra amenities, but it was a small, quaint site right off the roadway, about 10 minutes away from the canyon. Grand Canyon. No.
Royal Gorge.
Royal Gorge. I'm like, this is a canyon trip. So the Royal Gorge. And but they were super nice. We wanted to extend our stay. They were more than willing and able to do that for us at the last minute. So they were 4.5, I would certainly say. Then we hit the road. We went to the Royal Gorge. Royal Gorge. Went by the Royal Gorge on our way out of that area. And next we ended up finding a spot in Montrose, Colorado. Montrose. Okay. And we stayed at Cedar Creek RV Park there.
And that was a puker for me.
Okay.
Especially at first. It actually ended up not being too bad.
So it was
but we had
so bad.
a end site right at the entrance of the lot. The park.
Right.
And I thought, oh, man, we're going to get headlights and all sorts of things. Well, we didn't get any of that. And it was actually a pretty quiet space other than all night long there was a banjo playing.
And you kept waking me up. What's the banjo?
Deb, did you hear the banjo? Don't lie. Did you hear the banjo?
I did hear some noises. What is Yeah, it was. So that was that night.
I'm telling you, there was some weird music going on. I'm not kidding either.
I know. I heard springs or something making crazy noises.
Yeah, listen.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay,
you
what?
Hear somebody
in the
like
middle of the night,
a banjo or something.
It was interesting, but there were a couple things. First
I yelled
of all,
at the guy the next morning. He didn't know what was going on. No, I didn't yell at anybody.
You didn't yell.
I actually tried to hide so I don't have to speak to anybody.
Oh, so yeah, the park. I would say we got there kind of late, a little bit later than we had hoped for, and I'd almost rate it maybe a 3. It seemed to be a clean
propane
site.
on site.
They did have propane on site, so you had amenities.
Which we didn't. Also, the other thing about our site is they had the sewer on one side and then the water and the electric on another. Well, on our RV here, it's all down one side.
Most of them are.
And even the guy came over trying to help out, and he says,
sorry.
"Oh, we've been meaning to get that corrected for a long time. It's sort of a funky site."
Well, thanks a lot. We got the funky site. Yep. Yeah. So again, as an RVer, it was just okay. Yeah, I wasn't.
I think they rated it a 4 something online.
But they were. We were trying to make sure that we keep our ratings up so that we learn the best that we can as we're out on this endeavor. But I would say that they were probably a 3. They seemed like a nice site, but we were really packed into.
It was in the city
close.
too.
It was right in the city, right behind an apartment complex. I don't want to go camping
in the city. I don't know about you, but I sort of. Yeah. We didn't know what it's hard to find things online. That's another thing we're experiencing is actually how to go about finding, a good place to camp and that kind of thing. So,
and when we find the right techniques and tools, we will pass.
And not just that, during peak season, everything's booked.
Yes, it's
so we're lucky
season.
to get anything. Deb was lucky to get where we are, but we'll tell you about that in a minute.
Yes.
So then after Cedar, where did we go?
Well, after that area at Montrose, we actually decided to try a state park. So Chuck was helpful. We were looking for places near water. So we did have a few expectations.
Yep.
And we actually landed in Mancos State Park.
Mancos,
Colorado, which is just beyond Durango. So that was what took us through all of the mountain passes to the beyond the beautiful town of Durango, Colorado. And so our last night in Colorado was at a state park, which means there were no hookups at that point.
No Wi-Fi.
So no Wi-Fi.
And
we were grateful to have a... Yeah.
Here's the deal. I read the rules. We weren't supposed to have the generator on after 10 o'clock. But that means if we didn't have the generator running, none of our outlets were working.
Right.
And I have a device that I have to use. I'm going to leave it as a mystery. Yeah, I want to leave that as a mystery because it sounds interesting. What device?
I have a device I have to use.
You figure it out. But I had I have a device that I needed to have powered in.
Yeah. For the night. He needed to power for the night. So it was neat. That was our first rustic with lots of trees.
Cool.
It was more of a camping experience from what we were ever used to. And it was cool.
I took Deb out in the dark, the pitch black dark.
Yeah.
She couldn't stand it for very long.
Well,
and there was something going on. I'm telling you, there was a little critter. We got the banjo, now we got a little critter or something. So when it's pitch black dark, we don't have the flashlight on. We're standing out on the road in the middle of this dirt road.
Looking at the stars.
Which I'm pretty sure the stars actually was a big UFO ship. I tried to point that out to Deb.
Well, you've got to let everyone know what you read that was in that particular area that we needed to be careful of. So,
well, that wasn't UFOs, but it was bears, jaguars, coyotes, and rattlesnakes.
Well, black and brown bears.
Did I say mountain lions?
No,
mountain lions were another one, but they were rare.
So yeah,
so that's what I read.
Yes,
and so we had it. It was pitch black dark, and I heard this. Or something, and it sounded like it was running across the road.
And then I heard that. Did you hear that again? Did you hear that again? I'm like, shh.
And so I get the flashlight out, and there's nothing around. But as soon as the flashlight goes off, you hear this little critter.
Wrestling in the leaves or whatever. You make a funny critter sound. That's hilarious.
It sounded like a funny thing. It didn't sound like a real critter. It sounded like something off that UFO that I saw up there.
Oh, goodness. So that was a very interesting, again, we had the generator running. We weren't sure if we were going to get knocks on the door in the middle of the night saying, hey, you're making noise or
I will
whatever.
say that I felt bad because I did not really want to disturb anybody. And the sites were really pretty well spread out. And that's why Deb and I went on the walk in the dark so we could see how bad the generator really was, because I really didn't want to put anybody out.
We were testing it all out.
And I didn't think it was all that bad. And nobody bothered us, and we got out of there pretty early in the morning.
So then after that, we were headed to the wonderful Arizona area so that we can partake in the Grand Canyon. That's one of the big things that we have on our list to do, because this has become a canyon trip for whatever the reason is. The Gorge Canyon, yep. So we are actually at the Canyon Gateway RV Park now in beautiful Williams, Arizona. So kind of bringing everyone along the journey with us. And it's, again, I think it's clean.
It's clean.
It's
sort of clean.
It's clean.
I'm only giving it a 3.5 at this point.
Really?
Yeah. And again, it's right over. We got a truck. We got the Love Shack here. We'll tell you about that in a minute.
There's Love's truck stop.
Yeah, Love's is right over there.
The highway is that right direction.
So you hear all the trucks
nestled in between all of this commotion and activity. Which again, online, you don't realize really what you're booking. It's a convenient location right off the interstate. Okay, sounds great. And again, like Chuck had mentioned, what we're dealing with is everything is booked. I called and
you got lucky on this.
I got lucky on this one, so I was just grateful to take a place where we could be close, an hour away from the Grand Canyon. But in all reality, that's close for what we're dealing with right now, and it is season. And you know what? The COVID does not seem to have impacted travelers. Would you agree?
I mean, I guess the only way I would know is if there was a lot more traffic. But people are wearing masks everywhere we go. People have masks. It's like a different world we live in. You can't. Deb forgot her mask about a couple of times.
Oh.
And so
I did.
She won't do that anymore.
No,
though.
I won't. No. But what's interesting is that, state by state, we're running into different expectations. But so far, Colorado and Arizona have been very, very clear that they're requiring masks upon entry into most everywhere you go. So even at restaurants, if you go in and dine, they're asking you to wear your masks until you're eating. So it is, again, watching these times change and everything that's happening. We're watching and seeing that across different states.
It's like
different.
Sort of the norm now. It's like, it's the big deal.
Yeah. So this particular RV park is kind of an interesting perspective, but we needed to do a little bit of
we got to catch up.
We have work to catch up on. We have to make sure, again, obviously, if we're RVing, we've got to have food in our house. And so we had to do that. That's kind of taken some interesting perspectives of figuring out where to go.
Tacos last night.
We did.
Tacos on Wednesday.
We're on the road camping, and I'm making tacos. We're making tacos. They're pretty good.
Well.
Yeah. So we're in Williams. The plan is to hopefully get to the Grand Canyon either tomorrow or Saturday. So we will certainly bring whatever we can, hopefully alive for you. But that's the travels. And again, Thumper's still in Texas. We will be heading there to pick him up here shortly in the next week or so and get him home so that we can bring him back to full life.
So why is there's this big, huge pause? I'd have to edit that out, you know?
No, you don't have to edit it out. So we just want to bring everyone along with us on our journey, some of the experiences, and what I think that will be fun as we go. Not only, so this one's a 3.5 for you.
Yes, I was going to say. Yep.
Oh, I unfortunately would probably have to agree. I couldn't say based on its location that it's a 4.
We don't have a picnic table.
There's
no
picnic
pool.
table.
We do have cable, which I have Wi-Fi that's been good. They have cable, but I didn't put it on.
And again,
actually, what we use, just so you know, is we do stream with Netflix or whatever. So we just brought our little Roku deal with us.
Right. And again, that's a good tip for people that are interested in entertainment while they're traveling, whether you're RVing, toy hauling, or even tent camping. If you bring something along with you that way, is the easiest way that we found. And again, we could have gotten satellite connection and all that fancy stuff. Again, some RV parks provide cable, and that's been a little bit of an interesting challenge. Basic to get local channels, but yeah, and that was your recommendation: is bring the Roku. We've got all the things that we need. And so that's been kind of a lifesaver, is being able to log into Netflix and or all the things that you do and or have on a device like that at home. So we
just don't know what's going on in the world as far as news or anything like that. And I guess that's been okay. It hasn't affected us in any way as far as we know.
Right. The other interesting travel perspective based on COVID that I wanted to talk about is every park has been a little bit different about what's open and what's closed. Now, the last RV park that we were in Montrose, they closed their restrooms. Restrooms, laundry, everything was closed to the public. So you had to be, and many of them have said, you need to be a fully self-contained unit. And actually, the first park that we stayed at too, which is Mountain View, they had the same requirement. You have to be a fully self-contained unit, which is fine. Here in this particular park, they said laundry's closed, but the bathrooms are open. And I thought that was interesting. But yet I've watched people coming in and out of laundry. So, I just, you don't know what's really happening, but you got to go figure it out for yourself. But this whole COVID thing, I think, has completely changed for travelers, maybe the way you can and or cannot do things. But the good news is if you need to do laundry like us, we found one in the downtown area, and maybe we'll make that happen here in the next couple days, because I do need to do laundry.
And the big problem is because we did count on Thumper being with us, whenever we have to go somewhere, we either have to walk. We walked over a mile
That's what I wanted
a couple
to talk
nights
about.
ago to go to Colorado Boy Pizza.
Yes, that's right. Shout out to them. Great pizza.
It was all right. Wasn't what I quite expected. It was all right, but
it wasn't what we were thinking of for pizza, but it was different. It was, online on Google said going there 1.1 mile, I think, and on the way back it said 1.3 miles, and I'm like, okay, 1.3 is a little bit closer to
way over a mile,
1.5, but we really had to trek it into town, and so here I know that
and we miss getting wet too.
The downtown area is just under a mile, but again, knowing Google, we probably will be over a mile. So you do want to take the adventure. I don't know. There are times when I do and times when I don't.
But it's easy to get around. The only problem is we just have to, put everything away, the sewer, the electric, the water. And that's basically about it, really. Well, all the stuff that we have around to make sure it doesn't fall all over the place.
And unpack.
That's the issue. So when we get settled down, we want to settle down. And they don't have, Uber. Actually, we did look up when I was at that place.
You did.
Well,
yes.
They wanted $40 or something, so I know it had to be 10 miles away. We walked 10 miles.
Oh, yeah. The Lyft or Uber that you found was $40 for less than 1.5 miles. Yeah. I figured either one, there's only one Uber driver in town, or we're going to be in trouble. Yeah, he's making the bucks. Yeah. So it was a little, again, we're so used to in a bigger city and bigger towns to the modern conveniences of life. And we're experiencing that doesn't happen everywhere. But,
so I really wouldn't recommend this RV park. Actually, I'd try to find something off the beaten path. This is the beaten path here.
Right. And there is one in the area. I think it's the Grand Canyon Railroad, because I did call them as well. And that one's in down. That's in the downtown area. Yeah,
I saw that. I would like. Actually, that would be good. Actually, we might look into it. Then we wouldn't have to drive.
Then we wouldn't have to drive.
So we could actually go hang out downtown. Looks so darn cool.
Yeah,
it looks awesome. Like it's so we want to get down there and check that out. But even that, the only reason that would be good is so that you can hang out downtown and party.
Yeah.
So that sounds pretty good, actually.
In the downtown on Route 66, which is fun, looks like it's a great time. There's lots of fun. There's an Italian restaurant. There's
steakhouses,
several breweries. There's steakhouses. There's a Mexican restaurant. There's lots of really neat places if you just wanted to. And it's very rustic, very similar to
It's
the
like Western
downtown in Silverton.
setup,
We
so it's
stopped
pretty
in
cool.
Silverton
Yep.
and got some pictures of that
Yep.
downtown area.
Highest Harley Davidson.
Highest
World's highest Harley
That's
Davidson.
right. So again, we just want to make sure that we're bringing all the great stuff to you, and so that
Well,
along your
we
travels,
can't forget to tell them about what's behind us. And I tried to lift this up to show you
let's
that this
take
is a big,
look.
huge.
This is a bus that is towing a Jeep on the back end of it, and you need to share the name of this bus.
This bus is, what is it?
Love Shack.
It's the
Baby Love Shack.
I'm not going to sing.
Love Shack. Okay, that's enough of that. So it was pretty fun. We were singing
Shack
as
on
they
the
were
top part for the bus
as they're rolling in, which is also Wonder Lodge. Wonder Lodge is what they've called it. So they got a couple names on the bus, but they came in and we like sang them into their parking space beside us. So it was fun. It's neat.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
We're having a good time. We hope that you guys are enjoying us bringing this to you.
Yeah.
We just want to encourage you to get out and do it too. And check out, I tell you, if you haven't been to the Rocky Mountains, make a trip. It will be well worth it. And what was that city that, at the top there? Do you remember what that was? We drove right through it. I was like, we should have stopped it because that was another neat town. Oberton or
Ouray, Ouray,
Okay.
Ouray, and it said the Switzerland of the U.S.
Yep.
And we got a picture of it. It was beautiful. It was kind of nestled in this cove.
I don't know. We were like
ranges.
we were mesmerized or something.
Yeah.
And we drove right through it. I was like, we should. And so we get up. Deb goes up a couple of turns. I says, maybe we should go back and hang out there for a while. She says, I'm not going back down.
I'm not driving back down right now. And that was only halfway up the pass. Oh,
yeah,
whatever.
it was only 2 turns.
I don't know.
It was this one and then this one. We were just going through the second turn.
It was a pretty steep climb because we've got pictures from that top. So 2 steep turns.
Well, let's go ahead and wrap it up, Deb. Let everybody know how they can.
Yeah, be sure to reach out to us on Facebook, either with the Chuck-n-Deb Show and Biker Life Radio. You can also find us on our webpage as the chuckndebbshow.com. Please be sure to leave messages or, as several of our listeners have told us, content or things that we need to make sure we cover in the biking world so that we can bring it all to you. The one thing I do from a biking world perspective I wanted to make sure we talked about was there was a great ride back in our hometown
thanks for remembering you talked about that.
Bradenton. Again, kind of wrapping it up around motorcycling, is that our local, some friends of ours participated in a local bikers. Scott and Christy Creep Hop. Yep. Attended a bikers. Back the Blue bikers
and how many bikers?
Over 300.
They
said.
Fabulous turnout.
It was a great turnout. So we just want to make sure that we acknowledge that.
Really cool
because we do have Blue in our family as a law enforcement, and so we just want to make sure that we're giving kudos to those bikers that are out there supporting great causes, and that was one that we happened to see, and unfortunately we missed. So thank you, Scott and Christy, for representing and being part of that whole event.
Yep. So being gone, we do miss out on some things as well. And just as a reminder, if you give us some feedback, go out to Apple Podcast and leave us a review. However, whatever you want to say would be great. Just some feedback would be real positive, or whatever your podcast platform is. You can leave it there, or of course on any of our social media sites that you can find us on.
And be sure and invite all your friends and subscribe and like so that you do not miss an episode, because we love coming to you.
And if there's something that you want us to see while we're out here, give us a shout. Let us know. We'll see if we can check it out for you. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up, Deb. We appreciate everybody here. Thank you so much for stopping in and listening. We do appreciate you very much. Hope you're all doing well.
And look forward to seeing you soon.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye for now.